So in this video, I am going to discuss the direct teachings and the indirect teachings. This is the first of the signature models of Transcendental Brain Training. And if you're new here, Divya Darling is my name. And this model is one of the ways that I am illustrating and conceptualizing this process. And so I ask you to be gracious with me because I have the dharma of speaking about the unspeakable, you see. And so much of what I'm sharing about, their words are merely pointers, right? So I want to make that very explicit. The words are merely pointers, but I will point you to the best of my ability through the use of this diagram. So a direct teaching here now in this moment. You are whole, holy, and free. Complete perfection. There is nothing to improve upon. Because how do we improve upon perfection? Right? You are in awareness and intelligence at your very core, at your essence. This is the truth of you. This is a direct teaching. And perhaps when you hear a direct teaching like that, maybe it stirs something inside you. Like for me, the very first time I encountered a direct teaching, my whole body vibrated with a resonance that was like, yes, this is truth. And sometimes what's also required is indirect teachings, which are about a path and a process that can support us in being able to truly let the direct teaching land. So in this approach, I weave between both the direct and the indirect. So this model is one of our key signature models, and you'll see on the left side, it says spiritual saturation. There's this infinity loop. Spiritual saturation is, why do I use the word saturation? Saturation is because spirit is already whole, complete, perfect. Right? When I use the word spiritual saturation, this is what lets when the spirit kind of lands in the body, I call that soul. But spiritual saturation is about us sourcing, because any change process, any transformational process requires resources. We need energy if we're going to undertake a transformational journey, right? So we start with spiritual saturation. We marinate in the moment and really anchor into truth. The truth that there's nothing to fix or change. There's nothing that a future moment contains that this moment doesn't. And you'll see some of the words that I use in this diagram. Agendaless isness. It's all here now. It just is, right? There's nowhere to get to. There's nowhere to go. This is the non-dual realm of absolute. And here there's simply beingness. It's simply being the self with a capital S. I love Sanskrit for distinguishing between, we have our self with a capital S, Atman, and that is the self that we realize, as opposed to the lowercase s self, which we'll get to now. But spiritual saturation, this is never changing, never, ever, ever changing. The absolute truth that there's no moment that is that has anything other than what this moment of now does. In the infinite quantum reality, this is truth. And yet, as humans, what we sometimes do is get caught up in what's the word I'm looking for? Condensed way of perceiving. We kind of buy into roles that can give us the experience of feeling shrunken, right? We're shrunken, and this is every human, not some, all of us, all of us, without exception. Every human has had this experience. Not saying it's current for every human, but we've all had this experience because we've all gone through conditioning, right? So I invite you to refer to the other side of this infinity loop. And the other side of this infinity loop speaks to our evolving nature. And in our evolving nature, we've got our mind and our body. And so the two key components that we focus on here, right? Because transcendental brain training is a holistic approach, right? Mind, body, spirit. So we've spoken to spiritual saturation already. So now we want to come to our mind-body aspects. So we work on mental maturation. Mental maturation. What do I mean when I say that? Well, what we're doing is we are upgrading our scripts, right? So we are, let's say, returning the concepts that create a lot of stress and struggle in our experience, and instead adopting ones that enable more freedom. That's what the mental maturation is. So we're creating more inclusive structures so that we can feel more in alignment with the truth of who we are, with the truth of our infinite nature. And the somatic sensitization element is about doing that in an embodied way. So it's not just intellectual, conceptual head nonsense. It's in our bodies. And so many people have shut down and numbed out bodily awareness. And so we want to bring more vitality and aliveness into this body. And that's what this sensitization component is. And in between here, in the bridge, is the emotions, right? Emotions, they have a psychological component and a somatic component, right? Because it's a sensation that we then label as an emotion. So it's the in between. So I want to invite you to see this other figure eight as our psychology and our physiology, and really know that they are inextricably intertwined, right? Because we separate the mind from the body, not in truth, right? And we get into in future videos and practices how we can unify them even more wholly, even more effectively, because this is how we can experience the most joy in our lives. These bodies are sacred vessels. They are our temples and our vehicles. And I'm using a lot of different metaphors here, but we want to honor and worship the sacredness of our soma. Now, both the mind and the body, they're dynamic. They're not static, right? So there's an agenda in the mind and the body. They're ever changing. They're becoming, and there's parts to them. I'm going to invite you to come on over to the video on embracing paradox. That's the next video in this series, where we can see what happens when we put these two sides of this infinity loop together. Again, I invite you, if you have any questions, any queries, any comments, any feedback, you are most welcome and encouraged to pop that below in the comment section, and I will get back to you. I would love to know if you are picking up what I'm putting down. I would love to know. And if it feels true for you, to like and to subscribe and to share this video. And I will catch you over in the Embracing Paradox video.